So there's this notorious chess master inside one of my Nintendo games. It looks like this. I've been playing against this old man for years, and today, once and for all, I'm finally gonna beat him. I'm gonna defeat the chess master on the NES. Since I don't normally upload chess videos on this channel, and I do plan on uploading some more in the future, I'm going to explain the rules of chess just this once. Pawns move forward one square at a time, and they can move 2 squares forward on their first move if they so please. Weirdly though, they can't attack forward, they can only attack diagonally 1 square. But again, they cannot move diagonally unless they're attacking, so pawns are pretty weird. Another weird thing about pawns are that once they get to the end of the board, they can be promoted into any piece that you'd like to have other than a king or a pawn. Though usually people are just gonna make queens. Knights are the other weird piece. They move in these L's or 7 shapes by going 2 squares in one direction and 1 square in another, like this. Though I think Eric Rosen put it best when he said they're more like octopuses when you look at how they really move. Bishops are a much simpler piece. They can go diagonal as far as they want. The catch is that each bishop is stuck to the color square that they're on for the entire game, which is why you have both a dark squared and a light squared bishop. The rook is like a bishop except better because instead of going diagonal, they can go as far as they want forward, backwards, and left and right. Rooks also are not stuck on one color because of this, and they are actually worth more than bishops and knights. And also pawns, of course. The queen is the most powerful piece on the board because they're a rook and a bishop combined, meaning the queen can go as far as she wants to forward, backwards, left and right, and diagonal, which makes the queen a little bit more valuable than a pair of rooks, which is absolutely insane and why you only have 1 queen per team. The king is the final piece on the board and the most important. He moves like a nerfed queen by only going 1 square at a time in any direction. The reason the king is the most important piece is because once your king dies or gets checkmated, you lose. It doesn't matter what else is happening on the board. You gotta protect your king. The way that checkmate works is anytime a piece moves and even looks at the king, then it's called check, and the king is forced to move. You literally cannot ignore check because it's against the rules. Checkmate is when you put the king in check and there is literally not a single move on the board that gets the king into safety, and whoever checkmates the other king wins the entire game. There are also 2 weirder rules, which are castling and en passant. Castling is when there's nothing in between your king and rooks, and you're able to make this weird maneuver where your king moves over 2 spaces and the rook teleports to the other side of your king. If your king or your rook moves before you castle though, then you are not allowed to castle. And just Google en passant. White also always goes first because chess is racist, but that's basically all you need to know to play chess. Of course, there are tricks and tactics that you can learn also, but that's more advanced, so if you want to hear about that, then I'll think about explaining some in another video. But now that all of that is out of the way, what the frick was I talking about when I said I was going to beat a chess master on the NES? Well, there's this game called Chess Master on the NES. Huh, go figure. I've played this game since I was a little kid, and while I have been able to defeat the old man on some of the easier difficulties, I've never beaten it on its max settings. Nowadays, any chess computer, even on a phone app on max settings, is literally unbeatable even by the world chess champion Magnus Carlsen just because of how far technology has come in recent years. But this actually wasn't always the case. It wasn't until 1996 that the first really good chess computer, Deep Blue, defeated none other than Garry Kasparov in a classical game of chess. Garry Kasparov is arguably the best chess player to ever live, and he did go on to win the first match 4 games to 2. But when they rematched in 1997, Deep Blue defeated Garry Kasparov 3.5 to 2.5 games. But that was in 1997, and the NES game released 11 years earlier in 1986, and not to mention ran on an NES. But before we even worry about the upper limits of this mere NES cartridge, I want to see it on lower levels and see how it performs and where my own skills max out, because, well, I haven't played against this thing in years. I ended up playing against the old chess master 4 different times, once on the easiest setting, once on level 7 out of 14, once on level 12, and once on level 14. The way the levels works are kinda weird because it has to do with time control and how long the computer is allowed to think. I also have no idea how strong these levels are supposed to be in terms of elo rating, so yeah. In the first match against the easy mode computer, I decided to play a King's Gambit because it's one of my favorite openings, and since it leaves such little room for error, it's very effective against lower rated computers and people for that matter. At first, the computer played pretty well, but the second I threatened checkmate, it just let me do it. But that is the easiest setting, so I mean, what should we have expected? In the match against the level 7 computer, it actually played a Sicilian, which I am fairly well versed in, but not as much as the King's Gambit. I played this weird bishop fianchetto line where you set up for it with your bishop right here like a sniper, because I've scored pretty good results with this online. Though I don't know what this is called, and I've never faced it as black, so it might not even be that good. I got a winning position when I was able to attack the king with check with a double attack on his bishop all at once with my rook. But I did get too confident and ended up forgetting about my own knight and let the computer catch back up. I ended up trapping the enemy king in a position where it could not move at all and advanced my own king and pawns until I inevitably got a king and won since, well, the king couldn't really stop me. So that's 2-0 against the computer so far. In the third match, the computer was level 12 out of 13 and it played an opening called the Nimzo Indian, which I know almost nothing about. This was a close and very grindy game that I'm sure I didn't play perfectly, but in the end I ended up being able to lift my rook up a few squares and invade the enemy king until I was able to checkmate and go 3-0. Now for my final match against the computer where it's on level infinite, or in other words 14. In this game, the computer played much more cleanly like I expected it to. I played an Evans Gambit in support of the homie Godmentor, and after about 10 to 15 moves of bad theory, I was down a pawn in a neutral position. I could not really get any counterplay going and slowly lost another pawn, and then another, which convinced me to resign. Normally I wouldn't resign in a game regardless, but that's against people. This is a literal cheater and an engine user, so what am I supposed to do down 3 pawns? So my final score against the computer was 3-1, but I couldn't beat it on his hardest difficulty. But we came here to see it get defeated, dang it, so I've contacted none other than Chess International Master Andras Toth to help us defeat the Chess Master. But this isn't just an international chess master, he's also a Twitch streamer and a chess coach, so go check him out because he has some really good stuff. Especially if you like chess. Especially if you like chess. Now it's time for the final match. International Master Andras Toth versus the NES Chess Master. Let's see who will win this battle of the ages. At first, the chess match started off pretty simple, with everything being book moves until move 12, where the computer played d5, which actually just turns out to lose a pawn, which I guess is why it wasn't book.
Okay, I see nothing wrong with taking on e5, but let me just think about it for a second. So 95, rook e5. Yeah, nah, let's go. Knight takes e5.
These noises are so ridiculous.
Yeah, and now because if I capture the piece, it was a different audio.
Even more
was it like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, you loser.
After a few more trays by the computer, we can clearly see that International Master Andras Toth is cleanly up a pawn now. But the problem is, we still have to win the game.
Take bishop d2, knight f4, queen f3. Yeah, knight has nothing. Okay, let's take the rook on e8.
Right.
And then he's going to take back with the queen, obviously. Oh, look at the check animation. I wanted a checkmate where we'll be like a bloody orchestra is going to
I'm not gonna
play
spoil
the Australian anthem or something, man.
I'm not gonna spoil it, but there is a special checkmate noise.
Oh, is there? Right, okay.
Yeah. At this point, the computer is trying to trade more pieces to weaken White's kingside pawns more, but International Master Andras Toth is having none of that and decides to go ham.
Screw it, let's go. Queen f3. We're gonna go f5. Oh wow, if he plays f5, we can actually take that. That's cool, man. Check that out. That's my chess system for you. If it plays pawn f5, I can take it because if bishop takes, I can take the queen, and the knight is pinned.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
That's a sexy motive. Now the computer is not gonna blunder stuff like that, so don't count on that. But it looks sexy. This is what I knew that this point would come when we are clearly better, but there is no apparent path towards fame and glory yet. Okay, let's go with g5. Pawn g4 to g5. So now we have got the option of bishop f4, bishop e5, but I could go queen g4, going for a quirky triple pawn setup. Huh. Actually, queen g4 take. How will they get out of the pin? I'm kind of tempted to still go for that.
It's definitely a funny line. It'd be good content.
Okay, screw it. Let's do it for the content. But for the sake of doing the content, let's go, yeah, queen g4. Let's get triple pawns, baby.
Let's do it.
Let's get the triple pawns. International Master defeats computer with triple pawns. That would make a good title, right?
It definitely would.
Except the defeating part is in doubt, but we'll try. Yeah, let's take it back. And it's going to play rook up to e6, I'm almost certain. There is a big advantage, by the way, and I'm telling this mostly to you, but maybe the viewers who play chess reasonably well will understand it too, about having those pawns. In particular, the pawn on g5 is very annoying because it's very difficult for them now to open up the back rank, because both h6 and f6 I can capture. Whereas playing g6, although does create a square for the king to go to, but then it's still stuck there very, very badly. So it's yeah, I'm a little bit in his face in that. And there is a typical motive here that I think goes to a6, and that is to play pawn a4, trade on b5, and then penetrate on the A file. Although my pawn structure on the king side is supposedly horrendous, they have got this very annoying restricting effect at least. Let's do this kind, sir. Let's go. Oh, okay. This is actually a very many steps plan because I just wanted to play g3, but then I realized that bishop f3 is going to round up my pawn. So we are going to go king f2, then g3, then bishop f4.
At this point, International Master Andras Toth has an advantage over the chess master, so he continues to improve his position and trade down pieces.
Wait, did he just go pawn h6?
Yeah, I did. It just pushed.
What the hell is that?
I guess he gives up. He hates this position.
Okay, that was weird with a capital W. You can already see the chat going, do it, do it, do it. Okay, bishop f4, sir.
Alright.
Can you type into the computer, give up, you hopeless piece of metal? Okay, now I have got something very cool to show you, bro. If we go rook a7 check and he goes king d6, then we have got bishop f8 kill, but also pawn c4 and then bishop f4 mate. So let's send that king back to misery with rook a7 check. And let's see where she goes, although it's a he, but whatever. And the plan is c4. And then the knight can't go to either b6 or c7 because then we pin it with bishop a5. So now we have got a game-winning threat of bishop g5 pin. And with the operation of this pawn trade, the g2 pawn is now also passed pawn. And now the bishops have got a little bit longer diagonals to work with.
Yeah, this is the true power of the triple pawns.
That's it. Like, look at that, man. The triple pawns are history. The Gonski.
With a winning position, International Master Andras Toth slowly converts the game into a more easily winning position until he finds a beautiful checkmate to end the game and defeats the chess master on the NES once and for all.
We have a beautiful mate. I will tell you the mate what's going to happen, right? So we'll go pawn up, pawn c7, then we will be threatening b7 mate. He will stop it with bishop a6, right? Then we are still going to play b7 check. He will take it with the bishop, but thus blockading that square so the king can't escape, and then bishop e6 is mate.
That's pretty.
That's a sexy. Do it. c7. Right. And then mate. Yeah. Very dramatic.
Yes.
Very dramatic.
The chess master is defeated. You've done it.
Yeah, baby! We did it.
The final position. Beautiful. Checkmated without promoting in the end game.
We did it, bro.
So International Master Andras Toth has defeated the chess master on the NES in an amazing fashion, tripling his kingside pawns to get a winning attack and stopping the computer from getting any counterplay. Real quick, I do just want to say huge thanks to him being a part of this video. Please go check out his Twitch and YouTube channels because he makes amazing content that's both entertaining and educational. Now that the chess computer is defeated once and for all, it makes me wonder just how powerful this thing is anyway, considering it released in 1986, and given the current data, we can conclude that it's somewhere in between me and International Master Andras Toth, which doesn't really give us much to work with. Clearly the chess computer isn't nearly as powerful as Deep Blue, being as it both came out 11 years earlier and on significantly inferior hardware. But it's also not a pushover by any means. The strongest chess computer in 1986 was a Mephisto model that was around 2100 ELO or higher. It was hard to calculate ELO on computers back then, especially since they were so slow, but most estimations rated it around 2100. A man named David Kittinger wrote the chess engine for Chess Master on the NES and rated it to be a little over 2000 ELO rating, which is actually pretty impressive and much higher rated than I thought it would be. If you're wondering what that ELO score is in relativity to the modern chess players, well, it's not very high, as world champion Magnus Carlsen is rated over 2800, as was Garry Kasparov when he defeated and lost to Deep Blue. Despite that, 2000 is still higher rated than probably 95% of people who play chess, meaning that even to this day, the chess master is a formidable opponent, at least in the context of it being an NES video game. Well, I think that's everything we need to know, as the notorious chess master was defeated by none other than International Chess Master Andras Toth, who you still need to go check out, by the way. And if you don't do it, I'll come hunt you down, I'll find you, and I'll get you.